Hi friends, welcome to my studio. I look forward to doing this project together. All right, let's get started. I'm going to be using the chalk pastels, the pastel sticks from Faber-Castell, with the pastel mat, which has a very rough surface. It holds very well. It doesn't allow too much of that chalk to get up into the air, but I would be using the PanPastels, which you'll see over on the right-hand side. But for this background, because it's just so much of it in different colors I wanted to get in there, I'm using the chalks and then blending them out with a sponge. Okay, now that we've got our background laid in there, we may adjust later, but you see I kind of did that horizontal looking stripy things just to make it kind of look a little bit like grassland in the background. Now we're laying in an underpainting. You'll see on the right, my PanPastel tops, I use those since I'm using a palette for my PanPastel, so I don't really need the lids as much now. So I kind of use them. I put them on a piece of white paper and I mix my colors in there. So I have a lighter shade of burnt umber and I have a darker shade of burnt umber and then a little bit of gray for underneath the chin. So we'll be laying those in softly, gently, a little bit at a time. And then once we get all of that done, we can start on our details. This is a great time to, if you're enjoying this, to hit subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, and it will help me to refine my tutorials or demos for the future. I'm using the little applicators. They look like little makeup applicators, but not quite the same. So don't think you can use that, makeup applicators. It won't be quite as good as this. These little sponges will come with your PanPastels. Some other sponges might come as well, depending on how many of them you purchase at one time. But they do allow you to get into these littler areas. It looks messy at this stage, but don't worry. We're just kind of putting in the map of where our darks and lights are going to be. And it's just kind of just a personal preference based on the project of how much detail in the underpainting you want to add. For this particular one, I just wanted to make that separation between the fur being lighter in some areas, darker in others, and then having those white or gray areas kind of highlighted early on. There we go. That's all of the areas so far. Taking a Faber-Castell black now and just kind of putting in direction of the fur, that undercoat, because there's a lot of darkness on his ears or her ears. So you kind of can see the direction of the fur, and we'll lay some lighter color on top of that as we need to get that correct tone and depth that we need for these areas. Another thing that you'll do between each layer is, hopefully, we get disciplined, sometimes we forget, but to blend where it's necessary. And that's just something you learn. Everybody, I don't care who you are, any artist is still learning. And that's kind of the beauty of art itself, is that it's not something that you're necessarily born with in most cases. It's a matter of practice, and it's, just not so much talent or gift or whatever. It's practice. It's trying different things and just seeing, what you can come up with, and watching a lot of other artists and their methods, and kind of blending everything to what is meaningful for you. So the way one person does something is not necessarily the best way. It's just one way. And I change my way depending on the project, depending on my mood or how I'm feeling. Sometimes I'll just start on the eyes and just let the eyes be the guide for the entire piece. Sometimes the eyes come later. It's just a personal preference, so you don't have to feel like it's something so structured. You just need to relax with it and enjoy it. If you really are a beginner, it's kind of getting used to how the pencils, are on the surface you're working with, how much pigment goes down, how soft they are, or how hard they are. Some of the ones I use, the Kalours, they're very hard, almost brittle, but that gives me that ability to lay down really fine strokes too. So I'll go in now with a lighter color. This is the 700 from the CarbOthello. And you'll notice everything about this particular deer. The color is not terribly orange. There's a part on his head that has a little bit more of a golden glow to it, but most of his fur is actually got a pinkish tone to it. And in some cases, like lower down on the body, there's actually a little bit of a purplish glow. And what I found is when I blended my base layer, where you saw the PanPastel at the beginning, on each one of those, I did add a tiny bit of the, let's see, what's the name of that color? It's the purple, it's the violet in PanPastel. Just scraped enough of that in there. It kind of gives it harmony when you start working with all of the underpainting colors, all kind of having that same color blend in with it. It really just kind of helps. It's so subtle, but it's just something that I got used to doing. Since I'm focusing on the ear here, there are some little fine hairs that are a different color. They're just a little bit lighter. And so I'm just kind of putting those in. They may get blended out, but I'll come back and be able to really kind of make sure I'm focusing on that area where it is going to be lighter. So final details always come out at the end, but in the meantime, I'm just going to kind of map it out where I want those hairs to be, and I'm always looking at that reference photo. Here I'm just adjusting color a little bit by using the Kalour. This particular brown, which is a little bit softer, just kind of giving it so it has that darker edge. There's a lot of color adjusting that I do when I'm doing any kind of project, unless it's something really, really simple. You can be creative. You don't want to match, even if you're going for realism, you don't really want to match your reference photo exactly. That kind of takes the uniqueness from it. But to kind of give yourself that freedom to make changes here or there, whatever it is that works for you. And plus, you don't want the stress of that, of trying to create such an identical, there's a picture out there. Why would you want to recreate that picture so that it's absolutely identical? There's always going to be something, even if it's just the background, even if it's just, a particular pattern in the animal's fur, whatever it is, don't feel so tight about trying to mimic precisely everything where it's supposed to go, because there is no supposed to in art, in my opinion. I think it's more a matter of, if you're not enjoying the process, then you're doing it wrong. So just kind of enjoy it, take your time, just let it kind of go, trust that process, and, let it be relaxing, no stress. Getting a little more detailed here now as far as getting the white, so that contrast, the soft little fur in his ear. I don't know if it's a he or a she. I just liked the expression on its face. It's just got a cute little face. Filling in some of the little areas on the head now with some short strokes for the hair and the fur around the eyes. Just making some little adjustments by blending everything out. Always blend every layer. And now going in with some black to get some dimension and depth to the fur. The eyes, the most important part of any creature. And I love doing eyes because I don't know, they're fun to do because you just never know what the reflection's going to be, where the highlights are going to be. Right now I'm just kind of outlining. There is a darkness, but this particular reference photo, the reflection is in two parts. You've got one area at the top that's kind of a bluish, and then you have the area at the bottom that's more of a gray. And then of course you've got the rim like I'm putting in right now, where it's the skin around the eye. So you want to make sure those details are there, and it just kind of will all come together. I'm being a little heavier than I normally would because I know that it's going to be, I'm just pulling in those black areas, really wanting to, you'll see me blending that out here in a minute. But, and I'll come back to the ear and the rest of that fur. But like I said, this is kind of how I go along. I get one area worked, and then I've got to stop and, work on another area and then go back to where I was after I've looked at it for a while and kind of taken a picture of it from your phone. If you don't do that now, do it. It makes such a difference. When you're painting or sketching, I do a lot of graphite portraits I've done, and a lot of ink and watercolors, some acrylics. Until you take a photo from your phone, with your phone or something, and look at it that way, it's like you're seeing it for the first time, and you're going to notice things that you won't notice when you're sitting right in front of something that you're working on. So it's really important to take that time, stop as often as you need to, take a picture on your phone, even just put it in the viewfinder of your phone so that you can see it from that way. That's the way most other people are going to see it, unless they're in your studio, or if you've sold that piece of work, if they're in possession of it. It's just really a good idea to see it under a photographic lens, because it does change it. It will help you see things that you may not be noticing right now. It's really good practice. Now there's that blue I was talking about. I'll start with a very light blue, and then the bottom part of his eye is the gray, and I will be adjusting that as well. The shape isn't exactly the way it will be finalized, but you'll see that in our final product. But for now, blending out everything until I'm satisfied with it, and you'll know when you are. Just kind of smooth it out, add a little bit more color if you need to, and then smooth it out again. Eyes are very rarely, they very rarely have very sharp edges. There could be a reflection. I did my daughter's cat just recently, and the reflection in his eyes were like a window, with the little window squares. So it kind of looked like a sharper type of a reflection. But in the end, really, it's a softer than you would think. It's just not that simple as being a, black and white. Very rarely do you really see white in an eye. You'll typically see a very light gray or a blue, or perhaps even the color of whatever it is that's reflecting. So here we go. All right, putting in a little bit of the lighter brown on the outside of where the lashes are, and kind of blending that out a little bit. The colors that are here on his head are the most orangey. I don't know what else to call it. It's orangey. So you can see how that's kind of coming along. I will do some adjusting. I will adjust, hopefully not to death, because I have a tendency. But sometimes the best thing you can do is learn when to stop. So the alternative to that is to start working on another area. And you'll see I'm doing longer strokes now because the fur on this part of the body as it goes down is going to be much longer. So we'll be filling in this area with longer brush strokes to mimic what we see in our reference photo for this particular guy. All right, you can see I've added some of the white down there. I'm still filling in. A lot of different colors go into one color fur based on where the light might be hitting. One piece of hair under another is shadowed. You could have different reflections, but trying to get most of that in here at this stage. Later I'll go back in. Well, you can see at the top where I've already included quite a few colors on his nose. And I'm talking about the bridge of his nose, where it's very short fur, but it's kind of speckly fur. So going into that area with just dotting those different colors, and then down here trying to get some of the other colors built into this, so that at the final result we're going to have a lot of depth to the color of the fur. Working now around the mouth more, we'll be looking at the nose and, pulling in the white there and kind of all of the little nuances with the shading under the white, the darkness on the side of the nose, even the little dots on the nose. Just step by step, what you see, focusing on that area, and just continually trying to look at it different ways, squint if you have to see the darks and lights, and just kind of, just get where you're comfortable with it and then move on to another area. Here under the chin, we've got the longer hairs and the white. It's not really white though, but it's pretty lighter in some areas than others. But this is where we are at this point. Okay, made a bunch of adjustments, got to this point, now working on the back part of the body. I'm going to be working with the darker burnt umber, and again it has some purple in it. I've already have a base layer for the underpainting, but I want it a little bit darker, especially in some areas, just kind of getting some depth to it. And because I know that the hair in this area is going to be variated in its colors, so having that foundation down is going to allow me to get each of those little, they're almost like stripes on his body, getting those in there in a way that it you can tell that it's there without it being overpowering. Okay, you'll see all the different kind of colors that I'm going to be laying in there. Just like I said, to look at your reference photo, you'll notice the different areas, and you'll end up going back and making adjustments as I usually do. But the main idea is I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you did, and like. And I look forward to spending more time with you on a future tutorial. If you want to look at some of my other ones that I've uploaded, feel free to do so. And I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful time with this and in your art journey altogether. Ready for the reveal. It's always the best part, taking off the tape and cleaning up all around. There's our final product. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.